Oh no! How could I not have? Didn't even I didn't even have it open and ready to go. Hold on. Let me do. All right. There we go. I was about to say rookie. We got rookie over here. Whoops, my bad, people. All right. Are we live? Thumbs up if we're live. Okay, just make sure. All right, everybody. Hello, welcome back to another stream. Let me make sure I'm not. Well, we can turn up the music just a little bit. How about right? Let's meet in the middle here. Lukewarm, right here in the middle. Okay. All right, people. Sorry, no more. Okay, here we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to GVS. Here's another episode of a nightly recap, kind of to go over what we had seen today in college football, and I just kind of ramble, truthfully, for the next 20, 30 minutes, just depending on how much patience you have. If you guys are enjoying the stream, be sure to hit that like button so you let me know to continue, and let me know what your thoughts are. I put out a poll in the stream to let me know, hey, which win impressed you the most? We have Texas A&M's comeback win. We have Oklahoma's win. We have the win tonight by Georgia. But then also, I think I put Oklahoma's win as well. No. Hold on. How can I not even remember my own? Oh, no. Oh, no. Did I not even put... Oh, I put one out there. I'm not tripping. Oklahoma, Georgia, Georgia Tech, and Texas A&M. Okay, I knew I wasn't tripping. I knew I was not tripping. Okay. Had me looking there for a moment. It's like, what the? Okay. Anyways, regardless, I'm going to ramble a little bit and I'm going to talk about what my thoughts and reactions were to today's games and the slate of where college football is now as we sit after week 12. And right now, currently, if you are a BYU Cougars fan, Cougs are good right now. They're up 24-3 against TCU. And so I don't think there's too much to be worried about in that game. Looks like the Cougs have it pretty much under wraps. Which, speaking of the Cougs, let's see. Let's double check. I don't know if... No, they didn't. Okay, look at this. UConn 86, BYU Cougars 84. So we're going to go off... We're going to go off script here for just a little bit. BYU did outscore UConn 52-43 in the second half, but where was the game recap? Nope. Play-by-play, team stats. Here we go. Rebounds, free throw percentage, fast break points. UConn with 42, BYU with 40. UConn did have a lead of 20, and so... Yeah, that makes sense. There was one point there towards the end of the game where BYU, yes, right here in the second, where BYU had cut the deficit to, I think, 4, and it was in one possession. It was after the big 3, but then, as you can see, Huskies still went on to win. All right. But anyways, let's continue the stream, guys. We're not talking about college basketball. We're going to talk about college football. More college basketball content will come. Oh, I hate saying that word, content. It makes me sound a little dirty. But more videos and stuff in my thoughts and reactions to college basketball. It will come later. Haha, that's what she said. But I think first things first we got to talk about is football first. And we have to get done with the football season first because that's the biggest priority right now. We're in the middle of, we're knee deep in it now. Well, actually, about now, we're about shoulder deep. If we were to compare this to water or, the term elbow deep and shit or something. But where we have, 2 more weeks? College football, then we have conference games, and then we get into the playoffs. So, okay, maybe we're about elbow deep, but long past the halfway point. We have teams like Indiana, Ohio State, and Texas A&M who have all improved to double digits now in the undefeated column, where Indiana's 11-0, Ohio State's 10-0, and then Texas A&M survives, and they are 11-0. No, 10-0 as well. Hold on, let's double check. Yeah, 10-0 because they have two more. Texas is now the biggest game in front of them. That sits in front of them. So, but I thought I'd just kind of give my reaction to um, some of the slate of games and just kind of ramble a little bit. First game, let's go from the top and then let's just work our way down. Because I did do a stream halfway through the day, and I talked about some of the earlier first slate of games. There was the first slate of games, the second slate of games, which was that middle window with the Oklahoma-Alabama games. And then we had the nighttime nightcap with Georgia-Texas. And then the last big team playing right now is TCU-BYU. But again, BYU's got a handle on it right here, 24-3. So the UCLA game against Ohio State, the Bruins are back to being the Bruins, like how they were at the beginning of the season. I think a lot of it did have to do with how Nico Iamaleava was injured. And if I'm a hater of Nico, you know what? Never mind. You know exactly where I'm going with this. He sat out this game. He had a concussion. But I think, truthfully, I think the outcome, whether Nico was playing in this game, it would have been probably maybe, I could see, because when we're looking at the box score here, it looks like, I didn't watch the second half personally. I watched like maybe the first 5 minutes of the first quarter. And then after Ohio State had made it, which touchdown was it? Yeah, after it was about 17-24, around this range, I was like, okay, I'm not watching this game anymore. Because the more entertaining game was going on, Texas one. But I think, in the first half, if Nico had played, maybe they would have scored at least a touchdown or two, made it a little bit closer. But, this is Ohio State. This is a night game in the shoe. And we know, Ohio State doesn't lose at home that often. The only teams that have been able to beat Ohio State in the shoe recently, the Ducks in 21. I'm thinking of Mayfield, of course, with the Sooners back in 17. Michigan last year. But, yeah. Julian Saint, as you guys can see, only had one touchdown today. So, could people say, oh, it was a terrible night, Oh, bad performance, one touchdown game. You scrub. You're not winning the Heisman. I don't know. That's not for me to decide. Because when you do compare his one touchdown against Mendoza's 4, it's hard to keep Julian Saint in the conversation. And again, this is a huge overreaction. Because Julian Saint could, Mendoza could throw for one touchdown against Purdue, and then Saint could have a 4-touchdown performance against Michigan in a couple weeks. So that is yet to be seen. But that's my thoughts on the Ohio State versus UCLA game. It was expected. So now this makes UCLA's third loss in a row. So they lost 4, won 3. They're going to lose 4, but then they're going to win this one. Hey, if we're just noticing a pattern here, 4, 3, 4, and then after that Washington game, okay, you've got your 4 losses in a row. Let's go get a W against USC. And then this win against USC could potentially prevent them from going to the Big Ten, even though I think the Big Ten's locked, because nobody can catch Indiana. Indiana's a lock for the Big Ten, I think. Yeah. All right, moving on. Let's talk about the UCLA game. Sorry. Pardon me. The Wisconsin game. My bad. Wisconsin versus Indiana. I will give Wisconsin credit for keeping it close in the first half. I think they're coming off of a lot of good feels. They upset the Huskies last week on their own turf. Big, huge top 25 win. You could have used it as a little bit of momentum coming into this game. But again, Washington's Washington. and we've seen Indiana is Indiana this season. And that's no discredit to, Wisconsin and who they are, but I mean, Indiana's a different team. Now, they did keep it close in the first half. It was 10-7. But then as we see, you ask Mendoza to put up video game stats and video game numbers, and he does. He had 4 touchdowns in this game, 299 yards, and only 2 incompletions. So that's probably another really impressive feat in this game. 2 incompletions. He had more touchdown passes than incompletions. Very impressive. Now, I'm going to try to play it even here and look at it from both sides of the fence. This team was 3-6. This isn't a team like Texas or Georgia that had 2 losses or 1 loss. Wisconsin has lost plenty of games. But there's also context to this as well. You go look at their record. How many ranked teams have they played this year? Count them. They've played a lot. And so I think personally, this is a huge, I'm just going to say it right now. No need to make a YouTube video about this, but I mean, it's kind of one of those quiet things where if Wisconsin put millions of dollars into their program, like how we've seen Indiana, Texas Tech, Alabama, Georgia, LSU, oh my gosh, Ohio State, Michigan, Wisconsin's competing for a Big Ten championship game because the 6 ranked opponents that they have played, are they beating Bama? Probably not. Are they beating Michigan? Again, probably not, because this is, well, you can lose in Tuscaloosa apparently if you're the home team because Alabama just lost tonight. But you got Bama, you got the Big House, Oregon, and then Indiana, which it's hard to gauge on, okay, can you, is Oregon one of those places where it's hard to go in there and win? Clearly not, because Mendoza and Indiana has done it. Same with Indiana. Let's see how long the streak for Indiana's home record. Let's see how far it gets. I am genuinely intrigued. This isn't like a shot or a stab at them. It's, could Indiana turn their home field into something like the Shoe, like the Big House, like Tuscaloosa, where it's like, hey, not very many people come in here and win. And if a team does come in here and win, they mean business, and they have a lot of potential behind them. And, if it was Wisconsin or an ACC team or an SEC team, it's like, okay, this team is competing for a conference championship and potentially a shot at the college football playoff. And so I think, looking at it again, if Wisconsin had invested millions of dollars into a quarterback, some weapons on the defense, like a solid linebacker, good front 7 for the defensive core, maybe a free safety or corner that's a 4 or 5 star, and then some solid offensive weapons for a QB and a line, because you got to have a good line too. So basically, maybe if they rebuild the whole team, but it's hard for me to say that Wisconsin, with a $25 to $50 million roster, is not competing for a national title, considering that they played 6 ranked teams. Because even if Wisconsin, because Wisconsin's kind of in the same boat as Florida, if Wisconsin had won at least 9 games this season with the schedule that they had this year, and dude, there would have been people who would have easily been like, well, they beat Ohio State and Iowa at home. They lost to Michigan in overtime on the road. They barely lost to Bama off a game losing field goal. They beat Washington at home, and then they beat Indiana in overtime on the road, or something like that. And people will go, yeah, no, that makes sense, because again, we have people still vouching for Texas, even though coming off of the loss tonight, getting to the college football playoff. We had people last year with SC's 3 loss, Kansas 4 loss, Bama's 3-loss, Miami's 2-loss, which I will warrant that. Like, I do, there's parts of me that did think Miami did deserve to get into the college playoff, even though they had 2 losses. But there were people fighting for that, and it makes me think, like, yeah, if your team plays a schedule like this, where you are playing a ranked opponent every other week, or, of your schedule, 9 out of 12 games are a ranked team. Yeah, you of all people can make the case for, hey, we have 3 losses, but our 3 losses are 2 top 10 teams. We should be in the college football playoff. We should be that at-large bid, but we'll see. We'll see where it goes in the future. But yeah, Wisconsin loses 31-7. Mendoza had an impressive game. So let's keep the stream going, and let's not, dwell on this too much. Let's move forward to the South Carolina versus Texas A&M game. I think the most impressive thing out of this is the camera that was caught in the tunnel with that. No, I'm teasing. But which funny, like that whole situation too. That one's blown up on the internet and kind of taken the internet by storm. But the fact that, because I'm looking at it now again, I didn't watch any highlights back from it. All I know is that Texas A&M turned the ball over in the red zone a handful of times, but in the second half they couldn't even get a field goal. Not a touchdown, field goal, safety, pick six, nothing. And they allowed Texas A&M to mount 28-point comeback and beat them. So I'm not necessarily on the Marcel Reed hype train yet for a Heisman, but you have to talk about this. And it's the same thing with Mendoza with Wisconsin. South Carolina is a 3-7 team. Wisconsin's a 3-7 team. So you gotta kind of compare them all the same. But I mean, his 3 touchdown performance today through the air, even though they were down as much as they were down at halftime, if you want to make a case for him winning the Heisman, you have to throw this game into it. Where, okay, they were down big at halftime. They were down 30-3 at halftime, and he, willed his team back into this. They won 31-30. They improved to 10-0. They secured a spot in the SEC championship. He balled out against Texas. He beat the Longhorns in their stadium. Who knows how many touchdowns he has. He wins the SEC championship game. Boom. That, to me, looks like a resume that could be argued and debated on, okay, this dude deserves the Heisman. Will I probably make a video on that? Maybe later. I'll try to collect my thoughts, make it sound a little bit more professional. But if you wanted to make a case for Marcel Reed to win the Heisman, that's the perfect one. And, I mean, the thing, too, is statistically as well, when you look at the MVP, not the MVP, but the Heisman is kind of an MVP where they're the most valuable player to their team. The other thing, too, even though through the air he doesn't compare as much to Julian Sain or Mendoza, he's kind of on the same lines with Mateer, is look at what he does on the ground, too. He's kind of half and half, which, again, we've seen dual threat quarterbacks win the Heisman before, so don't be surprised there. All right, now as we move ahead to, let's talk about the other one. The big game, Oklahoma against Alabama. Personally, this game I think had all the makings of if Oklahoma wants to stay relevant and stay in the conversation for this team deserves a shot and deserves a chance to get to the college football playoff, they need to win this game. Now, did they? Yeah, they did. They won 23-21, and the biggest thing was their defense. Their defense was absolutely phenomenal in this game. Brothers showed up. One had a pick. One had one had the pick six, and then one had the fumble. Do I have that right? I believe I do, because the other thing too is with how many turnovers Bama had too. It kept Oklahoma in this game because I will be honest, Mateer in the offense, it was not a flashy win. This was a pretty ugly win. But with the turnovers that defense for Oklahoma had forced on Bama, putting Simpson in a situation where he didn't look, like how he has all season. Like the Simpson that played tonight is not the Simpson who went to Georgia and beat Georgia in Athens. The Simpson that played tonight was the one that played against Florida State, which, fun fact now, while being down at halftime, Bama is now 0-2 this season. So if you want to beat the Tide, whether it's in, the Iron Bowl in a handful of weeks or in the SEC Championship, just get up on them at halftime. You'll win the game. But I say this jokingly because not everything's guaranteed, with wins. Like, I think the other thing, too, that I've noticed, too, when I look at the box score the way that it is this is exactly what happened to Bama kind of in the Vandy game and in the Georgia game as well. Look at those points in the second half. They only scored one touchdown. Now, they outscored Oklahoma in the second half because Oklahoma had the 2 field goals and Bama had the touchdown, so 6-7. But no points in the fourth quarter. So again, if they had touchdown or a field goal, they would have won this game. But that's something that I've noticed is Bama has struggled closing games out. And people have talked about that too. I'm not the first one making this analogy. All right, now let's talk about Ole Miss. Ole Miss had some struggles in this game, but they ended up getting it done against Florida, 34-24. Texas Tech absolutely just took care of the Knights, 48-9. Their linebacker, he had a rushing touchdown today, which was pretty fun. What else? Notre Dame beat up on Pitt. This game wasn't close. Carr had his 2 touchdowns. Jeremiah Love. The Irish offensive line just controlled and dictated the game. I mean, if you have 147 yards on the ground, it's because your big boys up front are doing something and they're just moving furniture. Now, let's move ahead. One prediction that I was absolutely wrong on, and I will admit that I was wrong on, was Baylor losing to Utah. Utah blew Baylor out of the water. I mean, just look at the points here in the fourth quarter alone. Look at that. 20 points, explosive fourth quarter for the Utes. Utes end up winning 55-28. Now let's scroll up here to the Georgia versus Texas game. This game was awesome. This game was real awesome. I liked the aggressiveness from Georgia in this game. I think, and I said this kind of in my, hold on. I said this in my review yesterday, where we had a lot of expectations for Arch Manning coming into this season, but then we also have to tone it down a little bit and also remember this is still his first year as a starter. He's not a true freshman. Like, he's been in the program. This is his third year now. But for him to play in the swamp, in the shoe, and now here at Georgia, notice how these 3 big, huge road wins that dictated the rest of the season and how he does personally, he lost in all of them. Now he had 251 yards and he had a touchdown. It still kind of didn't matter, and I think Georgia was physical too, and Georgia was just out physicaling. That doesn't even sound like a word, but just with their physicality, they just controlled Texas. And I think the drive where it was a series of some play sequences that had happened where Georgia went for it twice in one drive on 4th down, and then it was either a interception or a fumble, but Georgia got the ball, marched it down the field, scored a touchdown, and then right after they kicked the PAT, you go to kickoff, and all the momentum's swinging back in Georgia's favor. They do the tricky onside kick, and Nobody was there to recover it, and Georgia was able to recover it, and then they turned that into another 7 points. And so, from the momentum of um, Texas making it a 10-14 game there in the third quarter, there was a 14-point swing in just 2 possessions, and the margin went from okay, we got them right where we want them to okay, now we're down by 18 again, and Texas hadn't seen the ball. And I think that is what just kind of like, you compare it to a balloon that's, all the air was deflated out of it. That's how I would look at it. But just Georgia, and I love how now after Georgia wins this game, everybody's talking about, oh, Georgia's going to be that team that doesn't go away. Georgia's going to make a big impact, and it's like, yeah, where have you been all season? Where have you been the last handful of seasons? Did we just magically forget um, who won the last national championship for the SEC? Who won the SEC championship game last year? And who took over for Saban and the Bama dynasty towards the end? Did we just magically forget who went back to back? That's how I look at it. All right. Let's move ahead. NC State, no shot against Miami. Took care of business. This game, I watched this game, so I will admit I did see Oklahoma won, but I was more intrigued watching this game because personally I'm rooting for Georgia Tech because I want to see Georgia Tech against Miami in the ACC championship game. That's just me. And personally, I do want to see Georgia Tech or Miami in the college football playoff. And so when Boston College would not go away, I mean, they tied it up and made it 14-14 and a half. But just the explosive third quarter to take the lead. And then there was the late touchdown by Georgia Tech. So it's like, phew, we won. But then Boston College answered right back. And then there had to be the drive by King to get into the position where they were to kick the field goal. Like, this was a nail biter. And this was one of those scary games. And I kind of alluded to it a little bit in the last stream. I didn't openly say, hey, I think Boston College might get an upset here. But I did say, watch this be a dumb game where Boston College has nothing to lose, and it looks like an easy win because, yeah, we have a 1-9 team going against a 8-1 team. Watch this be, watch out. And then it ended up being one of those, hey, watch out games because Boston came to play. Nothing more you can say about it. All right, and now as we scroll down a little more, USC beat Iowa. I do know that Iowa had the ball with 2 minutes left to go to potentially tie it. I'm looking at this and I'm seeing that Iowa did not score any points in the second half, so that's probably why they lost this game. Was there a turnover? Only one turnover. Key plays. Interception. Okay. All right. Let's keep going. Let's keep going here, people. But what else? So yeah, USC still staying in the mix for the college playoff. Michigan and Northwestern. This was a good game. I watched this game a little more than the Notre Dame one, just because aesthetically, I mean, it was at Wrigley Field. I like when there's neutral site games and like unique games like this where the setup is, hey, we're gonna go play a football game in a baseball diamond. But I think Northwestern could have won this game as well. Like 3 of their field goals, like they stalled out in the red zone a lot, and there were a lot of touchdown points left off the board. And so Michigan, I would be a little nervous. Huge props to their defense for being able to get the stops that they needed to get to win the game. But Northwestern easily could have won this game. And if Underwood didn't have the final drive that he did with that offense to get Zvada into the position to kick the game-winning field goal, Michigan's sitting with 3 losses right now. Probably not in the top 25. And then that, the Ohio State game just gets that much bigger. All right. And then Virginia beats Duke. So now we can end that discussion on Duke getting to the college football playoff if they win the ACC, because they can't even beat Virginia. So can we put that one to rest now? Because, gosh, listening, it's been pretty interesting to hear everybody talk about the ACC and how, oh my gosh, no one from the ACC is going to go to the college football playoff, when it's like, are you kidding me? We're seeing right now after this week who it's going to be. It's probably most likely going to be Georgia Tech against Miami in the ACC championship game. But we're out here making scenarios of Duke winning out, Georgia Tech forgetting how to play football, Miami forgetting how to play football, and then Duke's going to upset Virginia, or who's the other ACC team that's at the top? Pittsburgh or SMU, because Pittsburgh forgot how to play football today too. But they made these scenarios where Duke's going to be a 4-loss team and get into the college playoff, and it's like, no, let's cool our jets a little. That's not going to happen. All right, Navy beat South Florida. Super happy that they did. I want to see them in the American Conference championship game. I think that would be fun. It'd kind of be like last season where Army won. And then to finish it off from today's slate, we had Arizona getting the upset win on the road against Cincinnati. So it looks like all but, locked in that BYU and Texas Tech are probably going to have a rematch for the Big 12 title game. Because, if Cincinnati won this game, maybe. Well, and also Arizona could get in the mix here too, if I'm not mistaken. Nope, never mind. That Cincinnati lost left the door open for Houston, Arizona State, and Utah. Because Utah did beat, why can't I think, Baylor. Utah beat Baylor, but see, now that BYU-Utah game is getting a little bit bigger. That game was fun. That game was real fun. All right. Texas Tech. Because, these would be the 4 teams. I think Cincinnati kind of screwed the pooch on going. And it's, you want to know what's crazy too, is I really thought Kansas State and Iowa State were going to go to the championship game. I really did. I thought, I've been on the Avery Johnson train since 23, and I'm like, just watch, like, he's gonna get there. And then with the weapons he had coming back, I just thought Kansas State would have a big year. They didn't. We've seen that they didn't. We've seen exactly the year that they've had. Okay, moving ahead. Looking at something caught my eye, and it's like, oh, what the? Okay. All right, let's move now to, and then 27-10, end of the second quarter, so halftime in the BYU game. Oh, I'm gonna sneeze. Hold on. Why can't I sneeze? I was gonna sneeze. Nope. All right. Let's look at. Oh, their touchdown too also came with under 2 minutes left to go in the second quarter as well. 75 yards, 10 plays in 4 minutes and 45 seconds. So good on them. Good on TCU for keep fighting. What's TCU's shot to? No, they don't have one. Never mind. I was like, what's the reality of them trying to? No, they ain't getting in. There are way too many teams. Boise State. Man, Boise State's struggling. Struggling. But we know their starting quarterback's out, so can't hit on it too much. Seeing who else. Just who else is up, because a couple weeks. Arizona State beat West Virginia 25-23. Hello. With this win, they earned a bid for a bowl game. I did see that LSU also beat Arkansas 23-22, which, man, LSU, they have not been playing good. Okay, I will admit I only watched a little bit of this game, the Penn State-Michigan State game. Both teams, because they talked about it at the beginning of the broadcast, both teams started 3-0 and lost together 12 straight games. So Michigan State has now lost 7 in a row. Look at this. I'm noticing a pattern here. A lot of teams are getting shut out in the second half. Not good, not good. Who else does Michigan State have for the rest of this thing? Iowa, and Maryland. I could see them beating Maryland, but I don't know about Iowa. Interesting. No Michigan. Oh, there's Michigan right there. Yeah. Tough loss. Tough loss. Sparty too. The other unfortunate thing about Sparty is Michigan State had the chance to. Speaking of K-State, there's K-State. Yay. Sitting at 5-5. They need one more win to be bowl game eligible. Oh, yikes. I don't know if they can beat Utah or Colorado. Yikes. Well, they can probably beat Colorado. But where are they? Where's Sparty? There it is. Michigan State is one of those teams, truthfully, like with the Wisconsins, where Michigan State could play upset on a lot of teams every year if they had the roster to do it. Because how many times does Michigan run into Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State? And it seems like the Big Ten goes to one of those teams every single year. And so, yeah. And it's a little different, too, now with, like, the invasion of the Pac-12 coming in. And, yeah. James Madison, I did see that they won at 58-10. I personally think that this goes towards style points, and I hate to say it that way, but I'm thinking that if James Madison wants to get in the playoff, they need to blow teams out like this. But unfortunately, I don't think, especially with Georgia Tech winning today, and Miami, and Virginia, and then also as well, Navy beating around the Bulls. If Navy wins the American, Navy will be that 12th seed. Because what James Madison is doing is James Madison is fighting any team from the American, and whoever wins it, they're fighting. Oh my gosh! And look at this too. East Carolina beat Memphis today, and so Memphis drops to 8-3, 4-3 in play. East Carolina is 5-1 in play, and so this shakes up. Oh yeah, look at this. East Carolina has found themselves in a unique situation where if East Carolina wins out, they play UTSA, they play these guys, and then FAU. Florida Atlantic is not in this division. But yeah, if UTSA is, but no FAU. So if they win this, they can end 6-1 in conference play, and then 9-3 overall, and then East Carolina could potentially play Navy, maybe. So that loss, Memphis's loss today, kind of left the door open a little bit for East Carolina. But like I was saying, you have East Carolina and who else? Standings. You have these three teams. Well, now four. 1, 2, 2, 3. Yeah, basically those three teams, all of them are fighting for that 12th seed. Because I don't think I don't know. I don't know if James Madison can get that 12th seed. And if they do great. And that's why I'm assuming they ran up the score 58-10 against App State to get the style points, because look who else they got. They got Washington State, and then they got Coastal Carolina. Truthfully, they're probably going to win both of these games. Okay, and so they're going to improve their record to 11-1. They'll win the Sun Belt, and then they're sitting there going, "Okay, should we go?" And I don't know. I don't know if, of all the 6 teams that I listed, I don't know if the committee would favor James Madison to go over those guys. I really don't know. We'll just have to see, though. We'll have to see. Not saying that it's not possible. I'm just saying we'll see. We'll just have to see. Okay, what else happened today? Tulane beat Florida Atlantic. Purdue loses. Virginia Tech loses to Florida State, so Florida State wins. Yeah, Florida State. I had a Clemson Florida State ACC championship game, and look at what they've done. I still think Florida State can be a team, but we'll see. All right, let's move on. Missouri beat Mississippi State. Wow, Mississippi State has not been the same team. Wow. Well, okay, so they beat Arizona State. They started 4-0. Wow. They have played 4 ranked teams since that Arizona State. Wow. I think this kind of exposes how bad Arizona State was, though. Which Arizona State is not the same team that was right here. Interesting. Interesting. And then they got one more. They got Ole Miss. You know what? You know what Mississippi State could do? Mississippi State could pull an upset in the Egg Bowl and really rattle a cage. And Ole Miss could finish 10-2, and then finishing 10-2. Now, hear me out here. Finishing 10-2. I know they beat Oklahoma, but LSU's not ranked anymore. And Oklahoma would probably end up ranked higher than them if they lose this last one. And it'd be very hard pressed, I think, for the committee to put. Hold on. Before I sound like a total fool, let me go look at the standings. Yeah, I could see a team. Okay, yep. I could see a team like USC, Navy. No, not. not Navy, never mind. But Georgia Tech. What the hell? Get out of the way. Hey, you want to buy a sundial? But I could see, yeah, I don't know. I think they'd still get in with 10 wins, but I don't know what the committee would do if Mississippi State played upset. Because the same thing could happen for Auburn, too, in the Iron Bowl in a couple of weeks. And watch Ole Miss and Alabama both miss, because the far inferior teams that are both sitting under 500, 5-6, 4-6, watch them both get a win. And then that would open the door. That would open the door wide open for USC to get in, or an Oregon to get in, a Michigan after beating Ohio State to get in. Out of Georgia Tech or Miami, the loser to get in, or Navy to get in. I don't know. We will just have to see. But I think we've reached the time, though, guys. That's all for me. Truthfully. Thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you guys for being here. So we're gonna do a hard out for the people on the shorts end. See you guys later. Thanks for being here. I saw an hour 47, and I was like, there is no way we've been streaming for an hour 47. But yeah, that's my thoughts on this week, guys. This was week 12. I think let's sweep one more time through the rankings. They're going to stay the same. I think they're going to drop. I think Georgia, if I'm just going to be completely honest, I think Georgia's going to jump to 3. Texas A&M is going to move down. I don't see Georgia Tech. Because Oklahoma's going to move up. Texas is going to move down. Utah's going to move up. I can see Georgia Tech staying right here. I can see Georgia Tech and Texas A&M getting the same treatment, where Virginia won, so they'll go up. Iowa lost, so they're out. There's going to be a lot of movement. There's going to be a lot of movement in the top 25. But I think Ohio State stays the same. Indiana stays the same. Texas A&M drops. Georgia goes up to the 3. I could see Texas Tech moving up to the 4, actually, as well. Texas A&M drops to the 5. Ole Miss stays at 7. Oregon leapfrogs them. Notre Dame moves up a little bit. Oklahoma moves up to the top 10, because you have to put Oklahoma above Texas. No, yeah, Notre Dame. Yeah, well, because how much credit is Oklahoma going to get as a 2-loss team against a 4-win Bama? Do you go all the way out and reach for it all the way and have Oklahoma jump above Bama, and have Bama and Oklahoma meet here at the 7 and the 8, and have Oklahoma right here, Bama right here? And then Texas is out of the top 15. They're probably going to be 15, maybe 16. And then I can see Utah, BYU, Vandy, Miami, and Georgia Tech, and USC. I can all see them like creep up a little bit, like 1 spot, 2 spot. Like we could just slide them all up. But then you got to keep Michigan in the top 25, even though they won a close one. But yeah, the Final Four, of Iowa, Pitt, South Florida, and Cincy. They're out. I could see Tennessee move up to 21, maybe. But then, yeah, where does Navy go? Where does James Madison go? Where, you know, so. Oh gosh, I'm looking at the wrong rankings. It should be this one. They're basically the same, though, aren't they? Oh no, because Texas Tech's right here. Because there's James Madison. College football playoff rankings, AP top 25. So they're kind of the same, but not. Because in the rankings, you're gone. You're gone for now. Yeah, they're kind of the same. It's potato tomato. It really is potato tomato. Because the only one that's different. Who's the outlier here? Iowa. There's no Iowa. Because Iowa and James Madison are the swip swapped. But now Iowa's not in the mix anymore. All right, well, that's it, people. I just wanted to take a little gander at the top 25 because we know it's going to change tomorrow, and then the playoff committee will decide. Because do you punish Texas A&M for winning in the fashion they did, considering how much they were down, or do you just not touch it at all? I'm interested in seeing that, and I'm also because will Texas A&M get treated the same way Michigan gets treated, and then how far will Bama drop to get Oklahoma in the top 10-ish, and then how far is Texas going to fall, and are the Irish going to move up also with playing and beating the number 22 team? Or are they not going to get any credit for beating Pitt? And the same people who are like, oh, they're the Irish. Of course they get a cupcake schedule. They can lose their first 3 and then win the final 9 and get that 5 seed. Who knows? Who honestly stinking knows? But we're going to end the stream here, guys. I thank you for being here. I thank you for hanging out. Stay tuned. We're gonna do a quick turnaround here. I'm gonna go get a quick drink, and then we're gonna play some more video games tonight. And so be sure to tune into that. If you guys enjoyed this stream, be sure to hit that like button. Likes and subs help out this channel a lot, and I would appreciate it a lot. So I will see you guys in the next stream. Bye.